Hi, everybody. So I'd like to call, oh, wait, where's my script? Right here. Is it called to order?
Call to order,
Yeah. All right, at this time, the scheduled call to order and roll call
Raphael,
here.
Amon, Laura. Here. Sakura. Here. Anise. Here. Emily.
Here.
Hillary.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thing that comes up first is probably the approval of the November 4th meeting minutes. And I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I doubt it. Awesome. That's right. Next on our agenda is the public comment on topics listed on the agenda. This is the time in which people from the public are allowed to make a comment. That is not an item on the agenda. There's no one here, so I guess we can move forward. Up next, subcommittee reports. Up first is community relations.
We have nothing to report.
Phenomenal. We'll go on next to or no, thank you. Up next is subcommittee of communications.
We don't have anything.
Can I ask a question about just how did things work out? I don't exactly know what I'm asking. With Light the Lights, there were some like communications type tasks. How did that all?
There was a separate email thread that you weren't on.
I see how it is.
Can we only have a certain number of people?
Yeah. Yes,
That's what-
absolutely.
It was very confusing for my brain for a while because they
There
were
was
both
certainly
coming
a lot
in.
of email
So,
threads.
yes, there were multiple. So I think some of it got done on that. Just in terms of like what communications we wanted, I think.
Yes, and due to what was kind of established and what the village has used and what Sammy has used insofar as e-news, social media posts, and kind of her style guide and what she allows to go out.
Yeah.
As under village letterhead, it was kind of combining a lot of that stuff. So, and I think, we had talked a little bit on Friday, which we'll get to kind of talk about the light stuff, but it was promoted, the Century Room was promoted.
Yeah.
But it wasn't over promoted,
Okay.
I think, which was.
And I'm not, this isn't,
Yeah.
I actually just mostly am
Yeah,
asking
so
about
there was-
process, like communications wise, like from the staff perspective, did you feel like it
There was a
worked?
separate-
Did you,
we had a
as
separate
community people
chain.
feel like it worked?
I threw something out for rhetoric that we could use and then got some feedback and we used that in some of our graphics. It's good. It's hard to
I think it
sometimes
was
manage.
just, what we talked about was just like the organizations that would benefit from the donations and just the language to use around that. And then the sensory room, Laura really spearheaded. And then there was just the question of, if people aren't coming in hand, was there a way to extend the donation opportunity through like the holiday
So
season?
that's a conversation I
Well,
think
that
we'll have
already-
with
we had that.
Light the Lights. Well, no, it never should have gone that far because we already had a drive within the village happening.
No, I know, but the question was, could those boxes that were like the lights just move indoors? And just,
But we shouldn't probably have been having two separate drives. We should have worked with public safety to have, which we didn't know at the last meeting, but I subsequently learned that. I remember in the meeting, I said, Ben, isn't there already a drive happening? And you were like, I'm not sure. And
There's,
then
yeah,
in the time it took me to check in with Phil and clear this and get permission to cooperate with public safety, you guys had moved ahead with another drive, which is completely fine. My question was really just about comms, like process, like, did you feel like it was okay? Like, we used to hear from Sharon, sometimes she'd get overwhelmed hearing from all of us, like, it's not entirely clear who the staff person is at the moment.
Sure.
like, So I'm kind of just that, like, making sure you felt like you
Yeah.
had what you need, and you guys felt like you had what you needed from staff to do your comms work.
that was fun.
yeah, I do think it's, and I'm not sure what the solution is, but the amount of emails, I'm sure for all of us was kind of just like it was like, I don't know what's going on in this chain, but I sort of know what's going on in this chain. and
I feel
I'm
really
not
glad
so
I wasn't
sure.
on it.
Well, there was, but then you were also
I
in,
wasn't on too.
well, you were in several other ones, and so
Yeah.
we're, you know, it was, so I think there was maybe 5 going at one point. with
So maybe
different
that's a
combinations of people.
separate
Yeah.
meeting.
And I, you know, I'm not sure what the solution of that is, you know.
Because you just can't have a certain number of people.
Yeah,
It's
and
so
I-
tricky.
And I know there are ways where we can communicate with each other in a way that is efficient and.
Do you have like a Google Doc?
So
We
we can
just
all,
Is that like a
focus.
Google Doc we can all access?
and I'll have to look, because I'm not sure what it looks like when it's a shared forum, and it's kind of a space where, you know.
The prohibition on more, it's 3, right? More than 3.
It's gonna be less than that
Oh,
because
because
we
we're
have
smaller.
fewer folks.
So the prohibition just means that if we were FOIA'd, those emails would have to be produced. That's the only, that's the issue,
That's
right?
all that it means, and it's also
Okay.
true that there is some conversation up a level around like, is planning communications for a community drive or like the lights like
Right.
event, is that a like, is that a reason we can't communicate with the whole, you know what I mean? Like there may
Right,
not
That's an
be,
Open Meetings Act thing.
it's an
right?
open meeting,
Correct.
Not a
it's
FOIA.
open,
But
but
it's-
it, you're going to the right place.
Right,
with
it's,
it.
it does, there's no like issue with it other than it would be
So
subject to.
the question is,
Right.
if we're trying to plan the logistics of an event, is that an open meetings violation? Because it's not something that the public would, like, it's not like a backroom deal, like we
Right.
planned this thing and no one knew it was coming and,
Right.
you know, it's like, you guys are literally just figuring out like, are you doing this font or this font? Like that probably isn't an open meetings violation.
Right.
So I think we should meet with Phil separately and just parse some
Certainly
of
not
that
the
out.
intent of the law, but it might be the
100%,
actual.
but it may be this, you know, it's not the spirit, but it may,
Right.
it is, it may be the letter, but there's some conversation about whether it's the letter.
Is it Stephen?
So, but
I guess an option for next year would be to add in an extra meeting. Month before. I mean, I know it's a
Yeah,
hassle, but it's also incredibly difficult to keep track of all the emails and then forward it and then. And also that's another issue, open meeting, can the email be forwarded if there's already 2 of us on the thing? So it's one of those where logistically, especially for an event, it's just not, it's not ideal. And we can't meet via, well, I guess that would be another question. Could we meet virtually? Since it is strictly for the planning process of an event, not for all events that is covered by our council.
so that's 100% why I asked. I just wanted to make sure that it was like people had their needs met or they weren't like crying in a corner because they got 700 emails and now we can.
That was good. I mean, I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything too, so if there is any feedback, obviously. Strong.
Lost
A
it.
little, yeah.
That's my new skills, guys.
Then I guess we should move on. And the next subcommittee update is that from the events.
So technically, I think I report out on events because it's Amin and me. But I'm gonna ask Laura to talk a little bit about the sensory room and then.
Notes.
Okay, oh, yeah.
No. Well, I sat there for like 2 hours.
I
had to do
know,
something.
I
I
know.
spied on people and took notes. We had 14 total groups of people come.
That's great.
Yeah, and mostly with little kids, but there was a disabled person who looked like their caretaker. There was a guy with a baby, which seemed like a good place for a baby to be. Like just like bouncing his baby, like good. And the most we ever got, which I think was when you were in, was 5 kids from 3 families, which was not like a lot, not counting, I think my kids rolled through right then, but like.
So never more than 5 at a time, is that what you're saying?
Kids.
Never.
Still might have had like 10 people in the room.
Okay,
But yeah, 5 was the most in terms of kids, and it was like a little loud, but again, I think I'm like right when my kids rolled through, we're not. Like it's just like you want it. But yeah, not like too crowded. I think the way you had set it up it was set up with different tables, so there was like a place you could do coloring, kind of like the places that has the stuff on them.
did that work well?
That
as
worked
more
really
people
well
came?
because as more people came, because people weren't like intermingling, sort of in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they didn't go in there to be like the hawk. adults definitely like it, and I know the library was reporting that too, that the adults get overwhelmed too, you know, it's like, you know, nice for them to sit in there. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it, like, if there were, obviously it was like an under-attended event because it's cold. So I'm like, if there were double the people, would we have too many people? But if it was cold, not as many people might not have gone inside.
And then they might not have known about it.
Right, because I looked when we were at like max, I looked downstairs and they were at like max too.
Yeah.
So like
there was
they
a
were
lot of
Oh, so there were a lot of people in the library.
in the
the
library generally.
And then.
Because
And
it
that
was
was when we
so
got it.
that room like on the mezzanine level.
Yes. And like at that point, I saw someone actually brought like the craft up with their kid, which was like 100% the intention that they're just like, we're doing this here, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think that's mostly what I had. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It was not under promoted, but it was not so over promoted that it became an issue. I only almost had to bounce 2 kids. They were like getting, no, like they were just getting like security.
Like just, it's not.
Sure, that's security, like since we were security. Like looking, like I finally kind of looked at the mom, because it was fine when there were just them in the room, but then some other kids who definitely needed, yeah, maybe the adults needed like a little more chill place, and they were still kind of playing with the squids things aggressively. And the mom was kind of like, "Shh." I was like, okay, fine, like, you know, they were older than like the average kid there too, so like, they were probably a little bit older, but yeah, they just had more energy. Other than that, it was not, we had people till the end. When we closed down at 7, there was still a family who was in there, so. I love that.
I would
Yeah.
add too, and I don't know if this is because of the way that I kind of did it on the website, but you know, we talked about it a little bit on Friday, was that some people were coming into the sensory room thinking it was a extra sensory room instead of like a,
Oh,
you know,
sensory.
so yeah, so the messaging about
Will you
Yeah.
help me? I know.
Yeah.
And I
Like
think,
a.
like not
had
understanding that it's a place to like be,
Oh,
you know,
meaning like a
the
sensory,
opposite
like
correct.
a, like a feature.
sensory overload, you know, a stimulating environment as opposed to the opposite.
Like a rave.
yeah, the
Yeah.
library said maybe.
Yeah.
The library
In
said
the
maybe
library,
next time
yeah.
quiet room too.
Yeah,
or
so
that, which is fun, I
The
mean, that was.
messaging and
I
naming
can't
of it,
remember.
Yeah.
which, you know, I don't know if that,
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not such a.
Or it's like-
ridiculously ex-
you keep the
Quiet
messaging of
zone,
it
I
as
feel like
still
would
a
make
sensory
sense.
space, but it's also, this is like the quiet sensory zone, you know.
Right.
Quiet sensory
Whatever
zone,
it's
quiet
called.
zone. Something.
It's good feedback.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that was the library's call, because I don't know his name, but he was definitely at the bottom of the stairs too when I came in, making sure people understood what they were doing when they came upstairs. Which I think, so he probably found some people that might.
Yeah.
I just, so that's where, yeah, you're right, the messaging but moving
Yeah.
forward could be different. But I thought it was nice on the map. The map had it a little to the
Yeah,
side.
that thing
was
you guys
very-
sent out like in the, I don't know, 24 hours, 48 hours before, and then there was a whole like breakout.
Yeah, and you can scan it and like, you know, figure out how to.
Really
hear
well
more
done.
about it as well, so.
My only other feedback on the sensory room, which Laura already knows, is that just need to be mindful with setup that wheelchairs can pass. So which it wasn't,
said, yeah,
it wasn't
you
a
had to
big
rearrange
deal
it.
by any stretch, but I feel quick on my feet, the way that we had it set up, there wasn't enough space to
I'm glad you did, because
navigate.
the first,
So I
person-
just like,
the first person in there was in a wheelchair, so I was glad.
100%, which
Glad you-
it's on me, like I was the one who set it, no, I didn't set it up, but I worked with the library to set it up and then like signed off on it and was like, just didn't even occur to me that, it stupidly just didn't occur to me, and then. Or no, the first person was like, I had to kind of like scramble to move things and then, which is again, all fine,
Mhm.
just easier and
100%. You figured it out.
better messaging if you don't have to do that, so. What about, Raphael, what about outside?
So, the majority of people, after the lights didn't come on right away.
Wait, what?
There was a delay.
Yes.
For some reason, they went like out to in. I think.
Wait, so it's like a countdown and then it's like.
Into out, or,
It was,
right?
it was just.
How
we're
was
all-
this
we're all-
like?
No, we all counted down, got to 0, and I'm just like, we're standing around. So we're all like 3, 2, 1, 0, and then the little kid hits the switch. And the switch behind it isn't plugged into anything, so but the person who was standing next to me, the woman in the black hat, Chamber of Commerce from Glencoe or
When
from?
I go out, feel like-
She's like, it's not plugged in. I'm like, shh. So eventually, as we all decided to come off the stage, they all came on. But aside from that, there was definitely a concentration of people indoors. The theater was packed, the library first floor was packed. I've never seen so many strollers in the library at a time.
Yeah.
It was mostly because of the weather. People that stuck around, we did give away a lot of, we blew through the candy canes. The chocolate coins were popular as well. The donut holes were semi-successful, but they were
frozen.
frozen.
Oh.
Yeah, no
Okay.
donuts,
Yeah.
no donuts.
So when you,
It's a little awkward.
so I was telling kids, just keep it in your mouth. And you chew it.
Or just like put in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
Like, get it all crummy in there.
Couldn't give me some hand warmers, I had like 20 in my pocket.
There was some kids lining up for the train. The other thing did it not run? The other little.
It did. It was on the right
Yeah,
side of
the
the parking
parking
lot. We ended up moving a light over there because it was pitch black and kids riding it in the dark.
So.
So that was, but that was,
The weather was the biggest factor about it that really hurt the event. I mean, people wanted to stay indoors and I understand why.
But then really it sounds like they ended up being in other places.
They know they.
I was amazed at the number of people who were there getting alcohol.
In the theater and in the library, you couldn't stand in that reading room.
Wow.
There was tables and it was, so people did come out. Want me to talk about what I found out from businesses or not yet?
Mhm.
Okay. So,
That's for the manager's office.
got it. And so then the other issue was that the Ravinia Brewing was serving cider, either spiked with brandy or Jack Daniels. And I recommend you guys get it with brandy next time. Jack Daniels didn't taste all that good with the hot cider. But it was good.
Great feedback.
It got the blood flowing. So other than that, the people that I knew that went said it was nice, that it was just kind of awkward when the lights didn't come on right away.
They came like out to in, cause like you could see them down at like Park and Vernon and like go on from where I was, like you could see them down by the bank and then they kind of came.
So it's intentional. It was like a stroke.
It's like a wave.
Yeah.
I mean, I was standing next to a couple little kids from my school and they were, and like, I mean, no kids were like, oh, this is awful, like.
So overall, it was received well. We ended up next to, I forgot her name. She's the new person in charge of GYS.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
She's friends with Elle.
Yes.
Shall leave.
She went to apparently run her family foundation.
As to the when, I think she sometime in the summer.
I guess that's why she never got back to me about the article.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
Information that would have been response.
The woman running it is very energetic, very,
Catherine Rush.
she's definitely all about running GIS. She was there with her entire family. I felt bad because her husband was walking around freezing, even though he has a full parka, he wouldn't put his hood up. She ended up taking some of our chocolate covered coins to help pass them out because they ran out of candy.
She took all the candy canes too.
Yeah, she took a couple of
She
the last
cleared the
candy canes.
canes and like,
So overall, like we were here in front of, for those, we were here in the front. So we had a decent amount of people walking through. Someone ended up taking all the donut holes versus passing them out. I'm not gonna call that person out.
it was me, I took them to Anis's house.
You only took one box.
I took one box.
So
Oh.
almost ended up with two. But it was actually a positive because I went to go get them and they had the order for the next day. So,
They never get it right.
so lesson learned.
So is there hot chocolate at this event?
Mhm.
Is it
Hometown.
sold by a
Hometown does it.
vendor?
and Guildhall.
Oh, really?
Was doing it as well.
Okay.
And we hadn't confirmed it with them.
I
Last year,
wonder-
Hometown didn't sell it. They just were giving it out.
They did, but both
They
of them did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And the
wonder
other,
if
the
we
other,
should also, rather than donut holes, give out, people kept asking hot
So many
chocolate
people.
at the table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if it's, maybe we can just have like an outpost at our table.
the other place that was giving out hot chocolate, we found out was that gym that used to be at the Pizza Big 425.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Whatever that
That's
gym
nice.
is, they had a table up.
Oh, yeah. And they had a sign that you had to do push-ups.
Yeah. So they,
Yes.
they were trying to get their name out there, so they were nice enough to have that chocolate set up, so. Other than that, from the other people that I attended, everyone just said the same thing. It would have been much nicer had it not been so cold. But
Yeah.
I think overall, the village did a decent job. We tried to promote the sensory room. I said something in my 2-minute speech, making it short and sweet. And for as of right now, that's all I have regarding me walking around, trying to walk around the event, and trying to figure out how everything was going. So, okay, that's pretty much it for events. Because next up is integrating community feedback. That's Soccer and Amy.
Yep.
Soccer got the questions in. And it was part of. One question was part of this, a part of the QR code, right?
Mhm.
And then we're sending out a more, or are we not? Sorry, I forgot, we talked about
We're
this.
gonna do e-news like the following week or something. So that'll be this week, I guess.
I haven't seen any questions, so I don't know if I was.
I sent them to you and Amy. I don't know what to do after that, so.
Okay.
We did include a question in
Okay.
the event survey, which was more for like everything that was going on for Light the Lights. That was the question we talked about at the last GCSC meeting was, which was specific wording is escaping me, but it was along the lines of, did you and your family feel welcome at Light the Lights this year? And I think there was an option to comment if you'd like to provide more feedback. There was a lot of QR codes around, so I think we kind of got to the point where it was like, you know, we have multiple surveys that are both from the village or both from village bodies, and it get confusing, and people will take one and not the other, so let's take a little bit from one and put it into the other.
Yeah, no, we should have just folded into so that,
And just for the one question, so I think there's still an opportunity to kind of expand, and if that's something that, you know, the council would like to pursue, you know, I think there's an opportunity for.
When does the e-news get finalized? Can we put stuff into the e-news, like for this week or?
It'll get finalized Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm about to send it to you and Hillary right now. So the questions are on a scale of 1 to 5, please rate your overall experience. Insert event name, what is the first, was this your first time attending the event? What did you enjoy most about the event? How did we make Light the Lights better in the future?
so the Glencoe Council for Inclusion and Community doesn't host Light the Lights. The
Right.
village hosts Light the Lights. So the survey the questions that we needed were specific to GCIC and inclusion. So I think the one about did you feel welcome is great. I think it would have been nice to have some feedback about the sensory room, like,
Yeah.
did you
And that's-
even just like, did you?
That's the last question. Did you visit the sensory room in the Glencoe Library, yes or no? Or are you a Glencoe resident, yes or no?
And I think a lot of those questions, you know, I could pull up the survey at some point for what we used for the post-event survey. A lot of those questions
For sure.
are on that. So if we can explore kind of expanding that a little too, but you know, I would have to see where the redundancies are, because I'm not sure. off the top of my head.
Sandra, do you want to look at
I
the
just
survey
sent
as
it
it
to you.
is now
So, yeah.
and see if there's any tweaks that we can hopefully then add before it goes out in Friday news? Does that seem possible?
Yeah, I think so. I think if we're looking for specifically just feedback on the sensory room, then I think we should tailor the questions to that instead of.
Oh, I'm glad you
Yeah.
guys asked the question about, did you feel welcome?
Yeah.
Because that's certainly germane to our work, but I think we also want to know if people sort of like got the memo about the sensory
Mhm.
room.
Mhm.
Or like, did you visit, you know,
Do you know?
did you know there
what
was a
it is?
sensory
Did you visit it?
room?
Yeah.
Did you visit? Simple, like easy, you know, yes, no, doesn't.
So,
Okay.
yes, yeah, I just sent it and then,
What's the best way for us to proceed?
yeah.
So that you can.
How should soccer be able to look at the results that we already have?
I'm gonna be honest, like my week is fully packed this week.
Okay.
So my capacity is just already paper thin as it is. So I don't even know if I can get to it this week. Making time to come here isn't a lot. So, and I also think I clearly didn't get the instructions because I thought your instructions said you wanted generic questions that could be used for any event. So I wrote them that.
For generic questions related to the idea being that the council will start to have this, like, that question about inclusion was a perfect example, like, in every survey that goes out from the village, we should ask that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if we have a sensory room, we should include that question, and then if there's anything else that you feel like generalizes to village events from our perspective, then those are the kinds of questions I think we should be looking for, because we're not gonna do our own survey. We're just like providing content for the village's survey, if I'm understanding.
Well, I mean, for a lot of it is we already have the vehicle, you know, of, you know, Sammy has kind of created this great, you know, medium of communication.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of the way to get to acquire feedback is already there. So if we can not glom onto it, but kind of figure out a way to also be able to pull.
Same with the drive. It's
Well, yeah,
like, why
and
would
to-
we
I mean,
have
is it-
two
is it
separate
to expand
drives?
the questions, you're right, where it gets kind of, it can get confusing, you know, and
Yeah.
people are like, you know, I already took a survey, I'm not taking it again, and, you know, so.
So maybe we just let you have access to the data, like, we'll add the question about the sensory room before Friday. And then you don't have to worry about it this week because you're too stretched. And then when there's feedback, you can look at it.
Yeah, this whole thing's gotten very confusing. So it's just not matching with what I thought I heard last month. So that's why it's a little weird, but
Tell me what you think.
clearly not. It's just not that.
Some of it was like me just interpreting what I heard, like, in
Yeah.
this room.
So anyway, I thought I was following the instructions. Clearly I was not. So yeah, if you have the
Well,
question, then run with it.
I don't
So
think you didn't follow
I also
instructions.
sent you the
I think we got a
the
little
draft, the
confused.
draft questions that we were talking about here. I mean,
which I kind of
So-
thought worked out, but
That's
yeah.
great, so
But
there's
it's-
obviously a miscommunication between.
But you already included the question about the sensory room, so that's awesome in the
Yeah.
survey. Yeah.
Right.
So then if it gets included on Friday, then we hit the mark. So yeah.
So then all the questions basically have been asked in one form or another,
Yeah.
if not explicitly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's in the end, that's the goal. So, and then,
So when I take from that, we should not resend out another survey then.
Not
Right?
if it's already happening on the.
no, it's all the
EMU.
same survey.
Yeah.
There's just one
Right.
post-event
Right,
survey
right.
that will always go out
Right,
for village events. We, because we advise the village, have the capacity to consult on that survey. And that is ostensibly what we were trying to do, and which we ultimately succeeded in doing, even though we know we didn't know we had done it. And so why don't we just, because this isn't like optimal timing for you, why don't we just, when you come up for air and we know that Sammy has the feedback, maybe we can set a meeting and go, you know, you can have access to the data, and then you can do some thinking about if there's anything further you think you would like to know.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start charting all of that stuff, collecting it as information, and we'll go from there. The whole point I thought was to start small, so we really did with one question.
Yeah, but that's
all.
awesome.
And then we can just use it as a launching pad and go from there. Yeah, and then if we want to do, if we have GCIC specific events, is that also, is the village also going to take care of that? We don't need to worry about it?
Well, I mean, I think we can determine what we'd like to measure, what we'd like data on,
Right.
depending on the event. You know, and if it's flood delights is kind of one of the bigger.
Yeah.
Is.
Yeah.
Besides 4th of July.
Yeah.
I'm still.
It's a big one, yeah.
But you know, the big one.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of, you know, accessibility kind of things that we'd like to know. But that's.
Yeah.
Take it on case by case.
okay. I think we covered that pretty well. Moving on to the next agenda item, subcommittee assignments. Trying to remember why we put that on there.
Your head?
That might be a holdover from before.
Right,
Or if we
I
wanted
think
to
we talked about that last time, how everyone has their own relationships or their own connections to continue those. And last time we spoke, that everyone was in agreement, except for God, that stay in the same subcommittees, or actually, since it is the beginning of the year, does anybody want to switch, change gears, go to something else? Even though we just did the switch in, was it September?
I wonder if what we should do, what's the deal with the January meeting? So normally, will it be January sixth? So I guess we're on Mondays, not Wednesdays now, so we won't have the problem that we normally have where like the first Wednesday of January will be January first, which I don't think anyone,
No, since we.
in terms of our next meeting.
Right, no, we moved it to the first Monday, so it technically is January sixth, but I don't know if everyone is gonna be on a winter vacation considering kids are out.
No, they're back
Are
with fall.
they back?
Yeah.
So there's still. Yeah, the college one goes by.
I wonder if we, just as a kind of, like, if we want to do kind of like a procedural update, like Sharon's gone, like, just make sure that everyone has what they need in terms of like, if I am the communications subcommittee and I want to do something, my first call is this, and then like kind of just sort of try and iron out some of those procedures. Because I feel like there's a lot of kind of questions around like who's doing what and who's responsible for what, and I think that's natural, given that we've had so much change around like the different roles and that way, like, I hate the idea that subgroup really did work, but then just, I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that is not, it shouldn't happen, so, let's talk Raphael with staff. I'll talk with Phil, and then we'll make sure we come up with sort of a plan for how we sort of move things along moving forward so that things aren't getting lost and you're not getting bombarded with emails and.
I love it.
I'm sure you do. They all love receiving your emails as well, but just so get some clarity around the open meetings piece.
We will do Monday the sixth.
The village is gonna think, yeah,
Just checking. There's no vote. Upset, so. I guess that should be good.
get sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Next item on the agenda, end of 2024 summary and consideration of 2025 initiatives. Myself personally, it just seems like we're still trying to stay on top of the organization as a committee as a whole. I'm not gonna lie, this entire emailing no more than two of us at a time is
It's really hard.
it's difficult enough it's hindering, because the only way we can go around it is more meetings, but again, I don't even know if that's the that is the answer. I guess.
What's going on with finding new people? I mean, that's the solution.
No, we've beaten the bushes. People aren't,
People aren't
lots of
applying.
people said, oh, I'm gonna apply, and then they never applied, and we followed up and they still didn't apply, and we followed up again and they still didn't apply. So I think, it's, people are tired, like, it's hard to feel like, this work has value, I think, because it's slow going, like, it's very glacial pace, which I think is hard for some folks. And then I think it's also like kind of controversial for others, and maybe they feel like I'm not interested in doing that kind of work, or I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
So we haven't had that.
So if you guys know people haven't submit, I mean,
And-
quite honestly, the more people submit, the more.
We have three spots to fill.
Technically speaking, we had Vivek, John, and Bob. So
Do
theoretically,
some people cycle off soon?
It just depends if people's terms are up. I
Yeah.
think Ben would know,
I'd have to double
like
check.
Emily, I
So
know
what
is
else?
up soon, and I think she's gonna re-up things.
Yeah, we're the same.
Oh, you can
And you-
get in.
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
thought you were, when you're done.
Yeah.
So.
no, Margot, she was here for
Yeah.
20 years,
Mm,
and she finally unofficially retired
Yeah,
after being here.
which actually stinks because that was a lot of institutional memory that now like we don't have.
Yeah.
Um,
So again, the village application process is on the website. If you guys have colleagues, friends, or even those that you may not always get along with, want to hear their perspective, have them apply. So long as it's.
they have to want to
civil.
support the mission.
Yes.
So, you know, as we've seen in the past, there are folks who are interested in being on the council, but who don't believe in the work of the council. And because we're just a body that implements policy, we don't make policy, that happens at the board level. I think it's complicated because like, yes, we want diversity of opinion, but we have to all agree that this is something that the village the village has already decided this is something that we're gonna do. We're gonna put an emphasis on community and inclusion. So when people apply who are like, well, we shouldn't be doing this work, it's like the wrong channel. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not up to us. We're just people who like community and inclusion and want to create community and inclusion opportunities for the village. So that's the profile of the people who we're looking for, is people who want to.
I don't know if I'm misremembering, but I know there was one spot and there were several applications.
We have interviewed.
And Laura got the spot,
And
and then
Elle,
Elle got
And we-
another spot.
correct, and
Were there
Amin.
not more,
We brought in Amin, we brought in Laura, we brought in Elle.
so there weren't. and
Elle
there
was a
weren't-
circle back.
Right, and there weren't any other people that like were.
Was two.
Yeah.
Like I applied like 2 years before someone came back.
Yeah.
The other ones that came back after we spoke with Elle and one of them, I think, just wanted to be on the committee to Disrupted. Another person was more interested in joining the Public Safety Commission.
Right, so I think,
So there's other.
I'm remembering something now, I think that the application is like generic. So
Okay,
people just
I
apply to be on a
see, I
village
see.
council. And so what would happen is we would get an application and then we'd reach back to the person, you know, hey, John Smith, we heard you're excited about joining a council or a committee here at the village. And they'd be like, well, I really wanted to do this. And then, it's not really like, you know, sometimes it's like, do this here and then move, right? Or, so I think what we might have had were folks to your point, who really wanted to be doing other stuff.
It's a checkbox.
Yeah.
So it's not prioritized, so if it's not.
It's like, oh, sure, I do. I mean, like, I feel like when you're applying for a job, you're like, well, I don't want to be too picky, you know? Sure, I'll do that. But then when when the rubber meets the road and we're like, okay, so we'd like you to do that, they're like.
Again, you guys know anyone?
But I think that's a perfect thing to bring, I mean, it's a good thing to bring up in the context of like, you're moving ahead, like how might we in more traditional membership type organizations, the way you get committee members is by having people volunteer. So we've gone round and round about this. But maybe, you know, we just want to be a little bit more intentional or try to be a little bit more intentional, like with the February, back to events, sorry, there is the District 35 Belonging event is happening in February. And I will have an update, unfortunately, I don't think so, but I'm gonna check right now. It's in, I don't know which email it's in, but
It's March 11th on my calendar,
look at you.
but I don't.
The meeting
Yeah.
I'm having with
That's-
Amin is on Wednesday, which is too late to be helpful tonight. But it's the district's event, so we're, you know, just be supportive, but you say March 11th. I'll get an email out to you guys after, because again, I think we're allowed to transmit information out. We're just not allowed to discuss it online. So I can send an email that Ben can forward to the group or whatever and update you guys on that once we have a little bit more than just what we think is the date, March 11th.
It's in my phone. That's why we asked them if they
Yeah.
want a room there too.
What's that?
Ask Amon if she wants.
Absolutely.
Cause then.
I don't know if it's that
Absolutely.
kind, that was loud and busy
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
March.
So that's
Question mark. Sensory room, good to know, because, right, I mean, I think
was a
the
lot.
consensus is that if, first of all, it was so well received. I think even if it hadn't been well received, there was something important about the messaging, not like not well received, but even if folks hadn't really like showed up in that room as much as they actually did, I still think there's something valuable about educating the community about the need for this and having the availability, and I think the more we do it, the more we'll
Just
see.
becomes a thing.
Yeah.
We have as a
So,
community.
that's a great, I mean, it's a good flag.
So yes, I got the email. It is March 11th. They were looking for musicians as of October 31st. It is March 11th, 5:30 to 7. Represent a variety of cultures, genres of music. And they're seeking students with music abilities. So if you guys want to embarrass your kid, and sign up. So if you guys want this email, I can forward it on anyone who wants it.
I don't know.
But as of right now, we have nothing as a committee, a council, we have nothing in January, nothing in February, from what I recall. This will be in March.
There's the library thing in January,
Yeah, there's
Oh,
the,
Amy, all right.
but
yeah,
I don't,
so there's two events that we're co-sponsoring with the library. You have Amy's update.
Yes.
And then there's another one that's supposed to be in March, but I think we might I'm scared to even say this on recording because it's only my opinion that we should reschedule it. Because it's during spring break and I just think it would be better.
which one is that?
There's a woman who lives in Winnetka who was in the Iraq War and she wrote a biography, not a biography, she did a compilation of all of her letters home.
Okay.
And so the library invited her to come and speak. So then Amy and I went and saw her speak at the bookstall. She's a friend of mine, so I know her.
Oh,
And she said, well, why don't we like do it together? Like we can be in conversation, which I'm happy to do, but I'm out of town on the date that they proposed. And one of the things that was clear when Amy and I went to her bookstall talk was that there's plenty of avenues to sort of weave together the story, her story, and our, inclusion messages. But that wasn't necessarily a focus at the bookstall, so it would take it's gonna take a little
Some
bit
work.
more support. And so that's on my list of
and the January event is the
January
January.
wedding
events,
story.
That's on-
weddings during the Holocaust.
That's January
So
29th.
she's got that
And
update.
Amy provided an update. She can't be here today, but she was able to secure Rabbi Lisa Green from North
Oh, she was?
Congregation
Oh,
Israel.
good.
To facilitate a discussion for the co-sponsoring event that's gonna be on the 29th. I guess as a village, if we can start just getting that out there.
It was already in the library excerpt.
Oh, no.
I read the library newsletter.
That, me too,
Really to my library.
religiously,
That's
the village
during the
usually
day.
doesn't push until closer to, like, they'll start sending
The
it out.
library sent GCIC.
Because it's live, it's being done live at Yad Vashem in Israel, so it,
Wow.
the time, I think it's like morning, right? Late morning? Just two at a
I
time.
believe, I can't remember.
Here, I'll find it.
So then we have January.
So that's for January, February. is right
March.
now.
I'm hoping maybe we can pivot to April for that Carrie Hosa thing. And then we have, what else? We know we do donuts in June. We know we do July 4th. We were talking about doing a broader, sorry. Thank you. We had talked about kind of having a more, there's robust programming. Remember the library had asked us to partner with them to do some more programming around Pride in June. So I think that's something that we probably need to start thinking about, like, at our next meeting. And then they had also asked for some support around Banned Books Week, which I think is in September or October.
Good.
So I actually think we have more than normal on our plate. And given that we're gonna try and always have sensory rooms moving forward, like to me, that kind of sounds like a lot of stuff, but I don't wanna be a,
Doable amount of stuff.
feels like there
More
are,
than
yeah,
most.
So we'll have, if Writers Theater does drag story hour.
Correct. correct. Yeah, there's all the pride
June
stuff.
will be busy.
June is
right?
already busy and it seems scheduled to get more busy. Then we have July 4th. Then we kind of learned that things get kind of dormant around here until the school year. And that then the school year starts and there's so much going on that it's not really right for us. And then we're at lights again, so.
I'm happy to start getting to know the heart of Glencoe again, but I don't have a person. I mean, I can find a person, but I think you were reaching out to someone at.
Did I send you my people?
You reached out to her. But I don't know if you ever heard back. I mean, I can easily find someone, but you
No,
know,
but
the feedback from you guys is.
oh, we were talking about Talia.
Right.
Okay. Done. I will. That's on me. I just didn't do it.
That's okay.
Um.
But I can start, I think, start in January would be good because it's a new year and that's just sort of like, oh, we were just on like a year and a half hiatus. But now we're back.
And that's
I'm gonna
fine.
nominate my neighbor who's a public safety officer.
Oh, that's another good one.
And he is the nicest. And Andy now walks around and is like, after my family, Officer Ben is the nicest person I know.
Oh,
Yeah, she's like, I love the Glencoe police. And I'm like, oh. my
Okay.
God.
So all I need to do is check in with Phil that that's cool, which he's gonna be like thrilled because that is great, like across the boards for us. I think. Sorry, Phil, if you don't feel that way. I'll check. I will ask permission. And then I will ask him the best way to reach out because it's technically his staff, so I'm just trying to follow protocol. And then what do you need from that? Like, what's the ask in terms of time? And then what do
I
you
mean, I
have?
just usually meet them somewhere and just talk with them.
So meet for a coffee.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just gonna use the same format, maybe change the ending questions that I just thought were funny, but might have been more funny to me than.
I love that. Colin. Just the way it is, whatever you want to do, you're in charge.
So I guess the question, who would you guys want to feature? First time residents that moved to Glencoe that are,
Well,
say,
That's what we were just talking about.
So hold on, first, we've got these two possibly in the hopper. So we could give them their choice in terms of like, if you say, I have good availability the week of December 15th, or whatever you
Yeah.
choose, then we can see which one of them is available for this month, and then we can do the wash, rinse, repeat in January, and then we
Or
have.
if you have availability and they both do it, you do the interviews now and right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
And then we can just sparse them out,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Whenever you have time.
What feels realistic for you, just in terms of like your timing right now, like
I mean, I'm
before
not,
Christmas or after Christmas? Hanukkah.
I'm
Hanukkah's
not,
after Christmas,
It
so
starts on Christmas.
that's what I
Yeah.
meant, like.
It's very festive.
Christmas or whatever you wanna call it. I mean, I'm around.
Okay,
I don't, we were supposed to go somewhere, but
okay. I will get back to you after I talk to Phil tomorrow.
and then Raphael, you were saying like. It was kind of random, like I interviewed people that worked here, I interviewed people that lived here, I interviewed someone who had just moved here, I interviewed someone who lives here or has a business in Wilmette. I mean, it was kind of just sort of random. But if you want it to be more,
no, I was trying to think of people that I know, and there's a couple, I don't know if you guys ever, I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but the owner of Mo's Cantina. He's a Glencoe resident.
What is, I'm sorry.
It's a restaurant slash bar, in, River North.
Yeah.
Right? And then they have a pop-up Christmas themed place right now in Wrigley. And he's Latino and he lives here in Glencoe. When we first moved here, I drove by the house and he has the US flag and the Mexican flag. And it caught my attention because you don't see that.
No, yeah.
There, another one is
But do you know, so you know him?
I met him a long time ago. Every time,
Do you know his, like, you could share his name with me? I'm happy to cold call him and see if he did.
I mean, I think the thing is if, like, anyone that you reach out to, I would just send them the link to getting to know the Heart of Glencoe,
Yeah.
so they can just
They can
sort of
see.
see what they're getting themselves into. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's very casual. You know, the idea, like, I think started with, you know, just wanting people who maybe don't get acknowledged or noticed for whatever reason. And of course, we all have our stories and we all have our lives and we're all important and are loved and something to someone, and a lot of people fall through the cracks. And so, you know, just that was what I started with.
The other guy
More
that
so.
I'm thinking of is Camilo. He's married to Jen. They have
Oh,
two
yeah. I
kids.
just met him.
I know, right? I mean, it was-
Did you ask or did you remember?
I had asked. Because I was calling him.
He's
Ign- I was-
Colombian.
I almost called him Ignacio, and I'm like, I know his name, not Ignacio.
No, it was Jen's husband. You're just
Yes,
like,
Jen.
oh, it was Jen's husband.
And I've known him, it's embarrassing, I've known him since my son's 18, I don't know, 16 years. And you think as soon as I see him, because he's Camilo, I mean, there are a lot of people, and so I ran into him again before, and I was like, hey, what's Jen's husband name? Great, this is being recorded, awesome. But anyway, no, for instance, he runs a business. He and his wife Jen moved here. They live in Glencoe here several years. He has an engineering degree from University of Columbia that he went to Cornell to get his MBA. And now he picked Glencoe, even though his wife is from Wisconsin. Can't believe it. See, I remember that really well. But it's just one of those where they're a great couple. They're very, very nice. It's just one of those where we try to feature, we've talked about business owners in the past, local business owners. And also just people that live here. So it's always nice to get just thinking, people that have been here for generations, 2, 3, or the people that just moved here, and why Glencoe,
Like,
why
people
now?
are always wanting to know about that, international silver plating, like that place.
That guy, yeah, why did I do that guy?
That might be a good, so I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and they can
Yeah.
just work here, they don't have to live here, it's just a connection to Glencoe in some.
I was gonna say, you could get it to a Pascal
You
and
get
get like
some
an
good
update
points.
about. Joan,
Okay,
and
Pascal, he's got enough
He has enough.
He's got
publicity.
enough promotion.
That's fine.
Everyone knows Pascal.
How far did he make it?
So the final.
Far, far.
Oh, he did?
He was on
And
the
then
Golden
He
Bachelorette.
removed himself.
What? Yeah.
No?
Yeah, he removed himself. He was in the top 3.
Yes.
Yes.
But now there's a movement for him to be the next Golden Bachelor.
You're not gonna make.
That's,
I
that
think
was,
just
that was,
don't-
I
I
think
don't
that
see
was the
that.
hope and the
Of
dream.
course, I believe that is why he went.
That's the word. Sorry, don't want to traffic in.
Oh, yeah, this conversation.
So sounds like we have at least 4 possibilities for columns. So let's get you started with and maybe then we can alternate, like, you know, just so that this doesn't become like the mouthpiece of the village. Like, I'm sensitive to the idea that like every month it shouldn't be a village employee. So maybe do like employee, resident, employee, just because. And then it doesn't really matter, but it's just something to be mindful of. And we can brainstorm more at the next meeting.
Yep. Let's move on to the next agenda item, number 7, attendance at neighboring council meetings. I missed the November meeting in Wilmette due to conflicts at work. But when it comes January, I will bring you guys the calendar meeting dates. I think we are one of the few councils that meet every month. A lot of them meet once every other month. So if I will start reaching out for the next
Do
meeting.
we know who else? Do you have a good handle on who else other than Wilmette has these?
Highland Park,
Okay.
Wilmette, on Northbrook. Winnetka does not. I know of other suburbs like Bolingbrook has a very, very active organization. But the immediate ones that come to mind, those are the ones that I was able to find.
Oh, Highland Parks is tomorrow.
Oh, is it?
I could maybe go to that.
Tomorrow at 5.
Okay, and what's it called? Just so I
It
can
is
Google it.
the
Council for Human.
Human Relations Advisory Group.
Human
Okay.
And it is the meeting is at the Police department off, the one on Old Deerfield, you know what
Nice.
I'm talking about?
Uh-huh, I sure do.
Okay,
PD,
Oh, yeah.
Deerfield Road, and it's at 5.
it's at 5.
Can probably do that.
You know what, maybe I'll go with you because my friend is on it, which I keep forgetting.
Right.
I just wrote it down. Her name's on here.
Get a gift certificate, so there's like all sorts of things we could do. Okay, so we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
And then Northbrook, it's just like, get it out there. And then Relations Commission.
Community Commission. That's what they call it.
Okay.
They have, a Disability Inclusion Commission is on Thursday, December 5th.
Man, it's all happening this week.
And then there's a Community Commission regular meeting on Thursday, December 26th. Do we think that's gonna go forward? I'd be surprised.
Okay, so December
Thursday,
5th.
December 5th. 6:30 to 7:30. Shermer Study? Is that at the library? 1225 Cedar Lane in North.
Oh, that's on their city, that's at their.
Their city.
Yeah. Thing, that's where their library is, and isn't it right
Yeah, it's right there.
next door? I think so too. Well, Phil will obviously, he.
Yeah.
Okay. Shermer Study, he'll be like, oh, yes. But I don't know if I could do this. Is Raphael, can you do the 5th? I mean, I could do Highland Park tomorrow.
Oh, they have students on theirs. That's interesting. They have members and then student members with 1-year terms.
This is for the Northbrook.
This is the Northbrook Community
I can do
Commission,
the Northbrook on the 5th.
Okay, but that's the disability.
Inclusion Commission.
Maybe for that. Just
Okay,
like a maybe. for the
I'll
rest.
send them an email to ask them.
I mean, they're all public meetings, that's the nice thing, so.
Right.
Just show. Surprise.
So they have 2 events on their events page for the whole year. Just putting that out there.
Okay,
In Northbrook?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Flamingo Friday kickoff. Which is,
Sounds fun.
it's like the block party where you move the flamingo.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Who was talking
Every
about that?
Friday
we do
evening.
stuff like
Who's
that.
talking about that?
Every
Phil.
Friday evening,
Me.
Phil
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Every
right.
Friday
So
evening.
it's like, that's a
between
great
Memorial Day
idea.
and Labor Day.
Right.
Anyone that wants to participate.
Like the
invited to
witches'
the flamingo
ride?
party in their neighborhood. Perfect opportunity to gather. I don't know. And then the other one is they did a cultural fair in February. In partnership with the YMCA. On a Sunday afternoon, bringing together a variety of cultural organizations in the area. To celebrate the cultural backgrounds of residents. Sounds like the belonging event through the school district. Come out to enjoy dances, musical acts, art displays, food, and arts and crafts.
Okay, so we've got that. So, but the flamingo thing sounds amazing.
I know, it's
And
fun.
I wanna do one of those witches rides too.
Which is rare.
I saw some of that. I was like, what's
Sorry,
going
what?
on?
And when that, they, anyway. Maybe we
People
put
dress
this
up
on
like
the
witches and
on
ride
the
their
docket
bikes.
for next month.
And it's just women.
Well,
They like meet in Hubbard Woods Park and they dress up as witches.
Yeah, but I had no
Ride.
clue. I was just driving and I saw like these women like dressed like witches on their bikes and I was like,
what is happening?
I mean, why couldn't we do that?
yeah, it was very
Well,
cool.
anyone can. You can go ahead any day.
Hello. I think that's just called my regular get up. Like, you ask around about me. Okay, awesome. So we'll go tomorrow, if you can. I'll go
I
for
did
sure.
check with the babysitter.
You think you can go Thursday, you might go Thursday. Then we'll figure out when in January when Matt is doing theirs or whenever next.
I'm on their website right now. I can't find other agendas and minutes right. I can't find them on the calendar. I'll look and send an email out. So, okay. Up next is our agenda number 8, other business. This is an opportunity to discuss. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say at this time, if anyone from the public has any comments on the items covered in the agenda, now's the time to speak. Nobody's here. So moving on, other business. This is an opportunity for us to speak about anything that is not currently on the agenda. Anybody have anything?
Public.
No, it's other business.
Oh, I do. Howard Rowan, the village president, shared with Raphael and I an email that he received from the public that I will share with you guys in part. I don't think I need to read the whole thing. It was a response to the home rule referendum and saying, do you all know that home rule passed in Glencoe? Okay, great. So just saying that that was a good thing. And then saying that she felt like given the current climate, respect, empathy, and compassions are of concern. She feels like, as we have often talked about in this room, that those are things that are becoming all too uncommon. So she shared, she said, perhaps my neighborhood is an anomaly, but I suspect that we have a lot more to learn about each other than I thought. What do you think about reinstating the heart-to-heart talks that brought people together in Glencoe? It might give us opportunities to break down barriers and assumptions and to increase understanding of diverse points of view. So
Did we have that?
yes.
I don't
Yeah, I don't know.
remember.
I know what you're
So
talking about.
this is why we need Margot.
What year did we have that?
Margot, where are you?
Because I suggested this a long time ago,
So
because I read about it somewhere, but
I am
didn't
gonna have
know
coffee
why.
with this woman and get her take about what she thought worked and didn't work. And then I will also touch base with Margot, and I know that she has the nuts and bolts of it. And then I will bring that back to you guys in January and we can discuss if that's something.
It's like we're
What-
two
what-
people come together that.
It-
have
that's the
different-
so it's neighborhood, this is the best I've got, and it's very sketchy, and I will have a much better explanation in January, but. It's neighborhood by neighborhood, and it's essentially like, Sakura invites whatever you set the terms, 3 blocks surrounding you or whatever, to come to your living room and discuss an issue of import on a given date and time, and you facilitate, and it's a pretty heavy lift for the people who are gonna do it. But it might be a good way to find volunteers. I think it's worth discussing, but I'd like to get a little better understanding of how that, like, what that really looks like.
It was something sponsored through the libraries and like people who, like you would be one-on-one with people that had like.
No, that was the human library. So that was a different thing, like where you interview, like where people basically tell their stories and.
It was like, we don't agree, like you're you're
Yes.
whatever and I'm whatever, and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, this is a little different. What I just described was the Glencoe version. That's what she
Okay,
was.
I
raising.
never heard that.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
So
how long ago did this come up?
I mean, I think it has to have been at least 10 years
I'd say
because.
years and years ago, so I mean, it's one of those things where you have to be comfortable, because people would host other people in their private home.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those where you.
Right.
Like
Like a block party, like Greenleaf neighbors, come to Hillary's house at 7 o'clock on Thursday and we're gonna talk about,
That's a lot.
So let me just get, that's my understanding.
The
but-
rough understanding.
I already volunteered Sakura, she's already it.
So, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna host mine at the corner park when the kids 9 and under are able to get on the rides. I'm not happy people in my.
Nobody has, I mean, if.
No, it's just-
Women
I
are
was
into
thinking that like our council would do that so that we would individually like have people in our living rooms.
So let's find out the details.
Okay.
And
And if this woman seems really motivated and
Maybe she wants
interested, maybe
to
she wants to join
she's
the
been
council.
on the council for a long time, at one point.
Okay.
So that's maybe an outcome as well. We would love to, maybe she's looking for constructive ways to kind of facilitate these kinds of feelings and activities in our community, which is very much what I think the GCIC does. So I'll have a coffee with her and I'll get the details, like just the nitty gritty from Margot, and then I'll bring it back to you guys in January and you can decide if that's something that we want to try and pursue, because I feel like I might not have represented it very well. I just.
No, and I agree with what Hillary said, but I think that from our time on the council is having a I don't say keep people at arm's reach, but I don't feel that it's necessary that it has to follow exactly what it was.
No,
So it's gonna be one of those
Agreed.
where we can talk to the village about a neutral, not I said neutral, about a common area where we
Yeah,
can meet
like
or
Writers Theater.
writers theater, the library.
Partner with the Women's Library Club,
Yeah.
where they're always
Well,
looking
we've
for.
talked about having some kind of something where it's like, how do we have to, discussions
Right.
Having civil
with people we
discourse.
love, or however you wanna do it.
Or we can have it here and make Ben and Emma come every
Yeah.
Tuesday night just to sit here, and listen to people complain to each other.
You would have to have a professional person.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's what we're gonna
I
do.
think this is different from that in
Okay.
that it doesn't, this isn't like, let's just get the details.
Yes.
Okay.
It's more like a get to know your neighbor.
It's a little bit more
As
in
opposed
the
to
block party
just-
realm than the facilitated
Right.
difficult conversation realm. But
So-
I agree that
Well, what she's talking about is not, it's, well, who knows, you'll find out.
we'll find out.
Trying to hurt sounds like one-on-one, like,
Yeah.
cool. Then you started saying invite the neighborhood together.
Yeah.
15 years ago was a different time.
A different
Not just,
time.
it's like,
It was
We don't
owned
know what
by
it
the Human Relations Committee, so someone will be able to give us a better.
It made me think of those things where you can, it's like our more mature generation will go to a coffee shop if they're lonely, you go, it's like elderly hours. I was thinking
Yeah, and
something
you
like
like-
that. Yeah.
Your upside down if you want someone to come, yeah.
It's in other countries. I think they have in Japan, but they have a very lonely elderly population. So they have scheduled hours of like, come to this coffee shop from 2 to 4. And you just hang out with these older generation and just have coffee together. And so it's just a place. I thought it was something like that.
So, but maybe that is, that's a more example, like we could reach out to our friends at Hometown or Starbucks.
40
and
people
like,
in the living room.
would you be willing to help partner with us? I think that
I'm in a different direction.
maybe sounds, but it's in the same house. So I think maybe what you're describing feels more accessible. from
Yeah.
this group. So let's come back together. I think it's lovely. I can't remember, I wasn't like a call upside down, but there's like some way to signal, like.
I've seen it in Chicago.
With the red roads
Like, they
and-
have signs in coffee shops. Yeah. In Evanston, they do it at the library.
Not white roses, not roses.
I think the Evanston Library hosts one, so.
They do?
I think so. There's a sign there.
it's
I've seen
really-
it in
it's
Japan. I've
geared
seen it.
specifically towards older people.
Yeah, so they can talk to each other, but obviously they want to encourage other generations to come as well. And so just to.
Go to hometown during the day.
Get them out of the
and then-
house. Right.
And you'll see them.
But maybe they
Yeah.
let us do it in the.
The upstairs space.
No, I'm saying right now, if you go now,
In general.
there's those groups of older gentlemen that talk about their heyday.
Yeah.
And they're there every single
I
day
think
from like.
that's actually like, there's a
Right.
lot of
Yeah,
attractions
it's
for them.
totally
So glad
fun.
you said that because I feel like that was
I
just.
hate them.
They do all
It's
the.
been always there.
It's very similar. You'll see it in.
And then
cities.
Evanston Library has one?
I'm like 90% sure I saw those there, because I remember being somewhere like, oh, we saw those in Japan. And I'm pretty sure it's the Evanston Library. So, don't
I'm gonna bring all of
They have a
this
lot of
and
programming at the
Peggy
Evanston
and
Library.
Margot's feedback to you in January. And we can, Peggy Kimball, do you know her?
I do.
Okay.
She's very good friends with my.
Okay, perfect. So she's,
There you go.
seems like a
Okay.
very delightful human.
She has moved her.
Anything else on other business?
Your mama or your?
My deceased.
So did we get any donations? No.
We did.
We
House
did.
for hats and gloves.
I was gonna point out, the box is out this door to the left.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So a good amount of people dropped off things today on the light the lights.
A few people dropped off stuff today.
Great. So is it okay? Are we okay? Oh. Yeah, okay. Okay. And
I think it was
now-
coordinating in the future. I think it was the Toys for Tots and then the drive.
At least they're like different items, so. You don't have to yank them away from the children at Toys for Tots. Okay, if it's okay, I'll disseminate them. If that's okay?
Sure.
Unless, yes?
QR codes are still on the box too. You have to donate directly to the websites and the
Right.
organizations.
So I'll just wait until after the first of the year? Or when do you guys do your, well, you do Toys for Tots before, I'm assuming hers.
Only
is
until- only
not-
until the-
it's only through the 11th. Oh, it's through the 11th, okay.
We could do it longer, we could do it shorter. I just, obviously it's winter, we probably wanna get it to them
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Okay.
Sounds like there's a huge demand, so that's awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
Next on the agenda is to adjourn. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everybody, happy holidays. Be safe, stay warm with your families.
Good meeting. Yeah.